Yeah, I met Greg Irons in San Francisco. Yeah, I mean, I was a kid, and I didn't, unfortunately he wouldn't tattoo me, but I didn't really know how special he was when I met him. Sure. You know what I mean? Like he was just a super cool guy, amongst like crowd, grumpy kind of guys, and he was like, he was just kind of like hip and like he was cool. Yeah, he was cool. He was kind of like a hippie or something, kind of. And I just come from the hippie fest. From this, because I hitchhiked to California, so I went, and my last ride was to this like Rainbow Festival, which I was totally punk rock. So I mean, that's just where I wound up, and it was like free food, free drugs, and I just was like there. I stayed there for a couple of days, and then I wound up stealing a car with somebody and going to San Francisco. Yeah, sick. Yeah. Yep, that was it. And I made it to San Francisco, and then and then it was pretty soon because I was checking out tattoo shops and stuff and hanging out Lyle's. So Greg Irons worked at Goldfields. It was upstairs across from the Mabuhay Gardens, which was the punk club.
Right.
And I couldn't get in. I was too young, and I didn't have any money anyway. So I was outside, and then eventually I would go to the tattoo shop, and then he wasn't. I never seen him tattoo there, honestly. And he was just sitting on the chairs on the side, just drawing and hanging out. And then I would just go up there and talk and shoot the shit. Drew skulls. I showed him my skulls,
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. He was super cool to me. Super cool, yeah. And later I did a back piece on his brother. Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
No kidding.
Yep. Sure did. San Francisco, in my house. Did it in my house after I left Tattoo City.
Okay. Yeah, that section between.
Yep, section between. Yep.
You're up on Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks.
Top of Market.
Yep. Living like a king. Yeah, it was amazing. Woo. Crazy nice place. That was tattooing didn't get me that. It was straight up luck. And my ex was like super, on it, She was a super badass.
Super business minded.
She was just like whatever what she wanted, she was getting it, what I mean? And she wanted cool shit, so I mean, I thought anyway, that's what I thought.
Right.
So yeah, when we went and interviewed for that place, there was like 20 people there, literally. And we had a dog. We had our huge Bouvier, and we brought it with us because we're gonna, and she's just like completely was like telling people, this is not, you can't get this place, this is our place. Just straight up like, you can't have this place. This is our place. We're gonna get this place. She's like, we have this place. That's it.
That's sick.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
Yep.
There's so much to talk about with you. It's like, cool. I don't even know. I'm like, well, we could talk about this, and then, because immediately I'm thinking like, well, I don't want to talk about something you don't want to talk about. But I was like, well, fuck, Alex was cool, and she made amazing tats. And so I was like, want to know how did you meet Alex, and how did?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that.
And where did she learn? And when did she start?
She learned from Spiderweb. Well, her first apprenticeship was maybe with somebody else, but no, I mean, I think Spiderweb was her first apprenticeship, if I remember correctly. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, and she got this huge tattoo from. It's like the best tattoo he ever did. You know what I mean? It was so ahead of its time.
I swear to God, I've seen it.
It's a dragon. Oh, you've definitely seen it. I mean, it's like all across her breast and her front, and it's huge black dragon. It's like, some people now would dream to do a tattoo that good. You know what I mean? That cool. Like that powerful. Like they could do a better illustration of it.
Right.
Way better. It'd be like way better, but it would have like 1/1000th of the power and the fucking, the originality and the it. Yeah, the it that you can practice your ass off and, miss it. But I mean, that's the thing, tattooing. It's different than art, Something else.
Let's talk about that.
Sure.
because you know, for me, your work has always had the inimitable the
Thank
thing,
you.
the power, the dynamicism, the energy that very, very few people get a touch on, and it feels like the majority of your work not only touched on it, but really, I mean, you just drank it and you fucking pushed it out in this crazy energy. And I remember when I was first starting tattooing, I've always loved your work, but when I was first starting, I was hypercritical of what I was doing, right? Like, I hated everything that I tattooed. I thought it was all garbage, and honestly, it kind of was. But I was looking at it for different things. I found different reasons to not like it than the real reasons that I probably would now. But I remember looking at it, and then I would start looking at stuff in magazines from people, right? Look at whoever, and look at your work, and look at, Kane's work, and Marcus, and fucking Ed, and whoever. And I remember thinking, like, I love this tattoo so much. And it would be like one of yours, and be like, there's no way I can do a tattoo like this. And then I would break it down in a little way and go, if I did this tattoo, if I executed this one, I wouldn't be happy with it because it's not as clean or a certain way that I need it to be. And then it helped me understand, like, to change my focal point about what was important because I was too focused about some technical aspect of, like, cleanliness or, like, a thing. And you just had this power to let the line move the way it needed to, and to not have everything connect in some, like, rigid way, and in a really organic, powerful, energy exploding way. How do you think, or where did some of that, like, ability to let it go come from?
Okay.
I know it's a little long. I'm
No,
sorry.
first of all, no, it's okay. It's nice. I mean, I really appreciate you, Grimes. So I really do, man. I mean, it means a lot to me because, I feel like, you really, I mean, like, what you're saying and stuff like that is, like, all I ever wanted. So all I was ever reaching for, with the tattoo thing, it wasn't, tattooing wasn't, like, something that you get big or have fancy things or, what I mean, just any of that stuff. It was all about, like, the action, the communication with somebody. For me, it was always like, I want people to see my work and just be like, what the fuck? Like, I just never have seen anything like that before and not know why, you know what I mean? And so, like, yeah, for me, that's why, like, I dabble in so many different, like, concepts and ideas, because, like, I never wanted to have one concept that I would work out, because, like, the minute I started working it out, it would start getting dead to me. You know what I mean? And then also I would feel like, I'm just creating an army of people that look the same. And I would just have a few. You know what I mean? Like, I have friends that are great tattooers that I love their work and I love them, and they do, like, an amazing amount of work that resembles itself. And I admired that. And also, I just couldn't pull that off. So I mean, I just couldn't keep the interest. So, I mean, it's something about individual. I don't know, whatever I had in my head around that stuff. And then, I think a lot of it is just like I didn't have art skills, and I'm just like, I have a vision, what I mean, and I have a feeling that I'm trying to get across, unintentionally and intentionally. And so, like, with that, like, it's just about, like, play, and with the play and the time constraints and not working out too much of it, and always trying to be in a hurry, you know what I mean? So the hurry also limits me from the fucking tweakage, which I can do, you know what I mean?
I
Like,
know.
yeah,
That's the cool part.
I can do the tweak.
That's tight, and you're like, Eddie did that?
Yeah, man. I mean, I can definitely
like
get there,
fucking...
and I can go there, and it's exciting for me to do it, and it's hard to stop from doing it. So, like,
Okay.
yeah, that's why, like, I love my friends, and I don't love tattooing them as much. I have to, like, create this, like, distant. I'm more distant with my friends than I am with, like, people I don't know when I'm tattooing them, because I have to be, like, kind of a certain way so that I can do my thing, If I want to try too hard, that immediately, the first place that goes is, like, detail. That's the first place it goes, is
Interesting.
tweakage. Every corner, everything. It's like I'm trying to create a sleeve that was done in, 100 sittings with 100 different tattoos in one sitting and one tattoo. It's ridiculous. So, I think that, and from the beginning too, like, I wasn't in a lot of things. So what you seen was very little, extreme tiny amount of work that you've seen, unless you've seen people. Excuse me. So people, and then, usually, like, I train my people fairly well to not let you take a picture of it.
No.
Because, like, they got the fact that when they went in someplace and they said, people would ask who they got tattooed from, and they said my name, the best thing ever, this is my childhood dream. Everyone puts down their gear, takes their gloves off, and walks over to see what it was. This is like, this is what I live for. I didn't, you know what I mean? So, like, that's real,
Yeah.
I don't have to be there, but I'm there, you know what I mean? And all that stuff. So it's like, it's a way to be distant. So the more of that was in the world, and then the people tell me they see my work, and it's like, what did you see? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, so I love that, and I was in a couple things, and, like my image, I never put my image in anything. Even the first book the first book I agreed to be in was a book from Japan.
Flesh and Skin?
Flesh and Skin, and me and my partner, one of my best friends, Horitaku, from the Horitoshi family, we posted our pictures, we put our dogs in our pictures.
I know.
And I got a lot of stuff from that, and it was so funny, but it was like, at that time, like, my image was never in anything. Now I'm on Instagram or whatever, it's like a totally different world,
Right.
And I enjoy it, I mean, it's not the same. I'm trying to break out of certain things, and that might be one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. I mean, times change, we change.
Yeah.
The way we interact with the world, what we want to share, what we don't want to share changes.
Yeah.
What we found important, like all those
things. Yeah, it changes, big time.
Right.
But some stuff is like core beliefs, and like, I'm still like I'm still like this teenager, I still have this fucking teenager in my head that like tells me what, is not cool and what's cool and what, all that stuff, and it's like, it stops me. I've said no to just about every opportunity that's ever come my way, and I've had a lot of them. I mean, Ed Hardy, when I worked for Ed Hardy, he rolled up a bunch of my drawings and took them with him to New York and was putting them in a show at the New York Drawing Center, which is like a super prestigious place,
Right.
I mean, he told me afterwards, and I like fucking lost my shit. I was like, what the fuck? And I got on a plane, and I went to New York, and I fucking went to the place, and I asked for my drawings back. I'm like, can I have my drawings, please? And they were like, what? What do you mean? What are you doing? Why would you do that? And I was like, because these are tattoos for people. This is not, this is not what I'm about. Like, I'm not trying to be in this place.
Interesting.
Get it? You know what I mean? Like, and that was like probably pretty dumb. You know what I mean?
So what I'm hearing, I know this is assumptive, but what I'm hearing is that when you were younger and you're a punk rocker and you have a punk rock ethos, is that that's still there for you?
Yeah, and I wasn't punk rock since I've been tattooing. I mean, it's been a long time since the punk rock kid. You know what I mean?
But it sounds like you still, that shaped you in that, like, eternally, to a degree. To a degree,
I believe so. Yeah.
Because that's kind of what I'm hearing. Some kind of anti-establishment. No outsiders. This is mine.
Yeah, mine and yours. You know what I mean? Like, I love that. You know what I mean? I love that it was the person, the connection. And, I mean, there was a tattooer that was from the South that would come to Detroit when I was a kid. His name was Falcon Freddy, and he tattooed my friend Laura Lee, who was a huge, inspiration to me as a person, and, one of my close friends as a child. Just the allure, he would come to town, everyone would be stoked, everyone would get together their money, it didn't matter how much money, what money is, it didn't matter, it was like you just got what you needed to get your shit done, you know what I mean, like, you just sell stuff or whatever, do what you had to do, get get the to transfer, and get tatted. And I never got tatted by the guy.
Really?
Yeah, I was too young, man. You know what I mean? Like he wouldn't do it. I was too young. Even though eventually I got tattoos, and then he didn't come around. So yeah, it was like
It's too late.
The timing, yeah, which is forever regret. And not that his work was amazing or anything, but
right.
He was an amazing character, and I loved the allure, and I loved the scurry of people and the excitement and stuff like that. That was a huge part of tattooing,
Right,
me.
especially at that time.
Yeah, I mean, at that time, no one was getting tattoos. It was like punks, even punks, like, it was like hard because it was money. In Detroit, I think that we have a different relationship with money than a lot of other places. But I know in California, too, a lot of the punks were getting tatted down, Yeah. And Bob Roberts, I came here, I got tatted by Bob Roberts. I was like 15 years old, I got huge tats from Bob when I was 15.
Do you have some? You can see?
And he did this one.
The Giger.
Yeah, he did the Giger right on the book. He did my Tiger.
The Tiger, right?
Yeah, because I came for the second session on this one, and he said it wasn't healed enough, and and then I got the Tiger. My friend Jordan got the same Tiger on his forearm, and then he painted it, and it was on Flash. It wasn't on Flash when we got it, but I mean, it was probably on its way. Right. He had the drawing.
Sick.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It was awesome. Yeah, Bob had a mohawk.
That must have been a pretty mind-expanding experience. Is that the first time you got tattooed by like a high-level professional tattooer?
Well, I mean, like Chris from Eternal Tattoo, I would say was pretty high level. I mean, he was really good, Okay. He did like a pinky undragon on my arm, which is covered up now. And he did this Clockwork Orange tattoo.
Still got orange in it.
Yeah, the orange, and I had it redone in like 1988 or something like that.
Okay.
And then the guy who redid it left out the hat. He like decided to leave out the hat as like a cool idea. So like that's the original black.
That's the original black. That's cool.
But it was real tight and it was super nice. My dragon was super, super nice. I mean, it was so clean and just it was really good.
Give us. I don't know who Chris from Eternal is, so maybe give.
Yeah. I don't even know his last name. So he owned. I mean, Chris and Tramp, Eternal Ink, Eternal Tattoo.
Oh, Tramp.
Yeah.
Okay.
They owned the shop in
Tramp
Michigan.
From Eternal Ink.
Before it was before they had Eternal
Supply,
Ink.
of course. Okay.
Yeah, they had a little tattoo shop in like rural Michigan.
Yeah, Tattoo Tramp. Of course, I know the name, but I didn't know the connection between Chris. And him.
Detroit was locked up. It was illegal to tattoo in Detroit, and there was nobody there, and there was no one in the suburbs really, except Mel the Head, and then Tramp and Chris at Eternal, wherever the fuck they were. It was like a 40-minute drive or something.
Okay.
And then there was a couple other little places out in the sticks, which I mean, I'm a kid. I live in Detroit, so it was a guy at the park knew Eternal, and he had a car, and he like drove me over there, and I had like a tattoo on my head already, and I had my bat on my hand.
I remember you saying that's one of your first tattoos?
Yeah, this is my first. I mean, I had an E on my hand, and I did the bat cover up, yeah. Yeah, the bat, baby. It's my favorite.
I love that tattoo. And I love that it's such an early piece for you.
I love
it's
that
very,
tattoo.
It's got a lot of conviction.
Well, you see the green in that?
Yep.
That's Higgins green ink. So it doesn't work. It doesn't work, but it's like 40 years old. This tattoo is 40 years old. The green is 40 years old. So, yeah, the Higgins doesn't work, though. You can't use it to make a tattoo. It's bizarre, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so Chris did the tattoo on me. And Higgs covered it up. So you want to talk about Dan? There you go.
Yeah.
Cover up by Dan Higgs.
And that's pretty... that's, to me, that piece has a little more... I don't want to say energy, but let's say kind of dynamic quality than an average Dan tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
That one has a little more like, maybe he was like, I'm tattooing Eddy, maybe Eddy wants it a little more, energy infused or something.
I mean, Dan, Dan is like, my favorite. I mean, he really is. He's like, one of my favorite human beings, and definitely my favorite artist, So, and that, I just known him for so long, and I seen him become like the Dan Higgs that you consider Dan Higgs or whatever, So,
sure.
So it's like, yeah, it's amazing, and I love his art. You know, my kid loves his art. My kid loves his work, his poems and poetry. My son, like, fucking, it's so amazing. It's like, you know, Uncle Dan is like, you know, permeated him. He's so connected. It's
What a cool figure to have.
It's crazy. If you see my kid like recite one of Dan's poems,
wow,
it would blow your fucking mind. Yeah, it would blow your mind.
I bet.
Yeah, it would blow your
I
mind.
mean, I've heard Santi give dialogues and speeches and stuff, and he's so animated and good at it. He's so convincing and he's so passionate about it. So I can imagine that it's really
and
really cool.
I see Higgs in my kid like a lot.
Really?
Yeah. So, you know what I mean? Like I see it. It's just like I don't know if I'm just looking into that or whatever, but
right.
You know, it appears to be something. You know, like yeah.
Can you tell us about? Let's go back to kind of a little bit of a beginning stage quickly about what inspired you to really want to make tattoos? Like what was the trigger there? And then a little bit, it doesn't have to be in full in depth, but like a little brief about how you went to San Diego, right, to see Lyle?
No, Lyle was in San Francisco.
Oh, he was in SF by the Greyhound bus.
Yeah,
Okay.
7th Street.
There,
yep.
and then you know, coming to visiting Paul Rogers.
Yeah, okay.
And then finding or working with Ed and just to start there, maybe a little brief up until Tattoo City.
Okay. Well, all that is before Tattoo City. Yeah, no, there's so much stuff. It's like just goes on. Yeah, you could just talk about it forever.
Well, how about you just share the things that you find important?
Yeah, every day is and then I would be skipping a lot of things that I think are important because
I understand.
But yeah, you know, to just go with what got me the tattoo is basically I love tattoos. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I love them and you know, I fucking the vicarious thrill of I can't have enough bodies to get tattooed. I don't have enough body. I only have one body. That's the body I have right now and filled it the fuck up, you know what I mean? And like I filled it up 100 times, you know, in my mind, you know what I mean? And then like didn't do it. And the only reason why is because like maybe I want to do that or I don't know. You know, there's just there's that aspect. Then there's the aspect of like, yeah, I wanted to do the tattoos that I dreamed about that no one else was doing. You know what I mean? And like and do them and then be seen and be seen, you know, to you know what I mean? I'm like a kid, you know. Yeah, like you know, I guess I would be drawn to crime and prison was like, you know, just the next step in my evolution as a kid. And I wasn't feeling that, you know, like I was not feeling that, you know, like I visited my dad in prison. It wasn't, you know, a place that called to me, you know, the testosterone, you know, just the whole thing, you know, the surviving and the small space and, you know what I mean? Every aspect of it, you know, I respect people that can deal with that and, you know, like choose that life. But for me, I just couldn't do it. So, you know, like it was going to be a short life for me, you know, and then tattoo was like, you know, saving grace. And I think, you know, I stopped trying to be a tattoo artist because, you know, like I couldn't get that apprenticeship and I couldn't get that kickoff. And I tried doing it myself and I did it, but it wasn't like, you know, it just was hard, you know, and then I couldn't get it. And then like, you know, someone that was friends with my dad, I got connected with, and I started a different life. And then that life, you know, rapidly became, you know, clear that the prison was coming next. It was like really, really fast and super hot. And like, you know, it was like, you know, super highs and, you know, and then low was like, whoa. And then I fucking cut out and got lucky and ran, you know, left Los Angeles and went to San Diego. And that's where I got my start. And that's where I went into a shop that I'd been to before as a customer, just looking to get tatted. You know, which was supposed to be inkers in San Diego, which is like Steve Smith and Gary Hogan. Yeah, and Steve Smith is fucking awesome.
He's so good.
Dude, like Steve Smith, you know, this guy is like a fucking, he's like, you know, he's on point. You know what I mean? Like his art, his fucking heart, his everything is like, he's so sick. It's like ridiculous, right? And you know, I'm sure he's like unheard of, and you probably never heard of him. And you know, that's fun. It's sad, really, but it's also good because like he probably doesn't need to be heard of because he's still Steve Smith. He's still doing what he did. And like what he did, you know, Ben, and then how he's adapted and how he's like been inspired, you know what I mean. But he was just a great artist. His style was so cool. It's like Greg Irons, you know.
And technically,
he wasn't
killer.
Yeah, he wasn't Greg Irons because he's a tattooer. Greg Irons is like a fucking amazing artist, you know, all that stuff, right? Steve Smith's a tattooer and an artist,
right?
But a tattooer, like, you know what I mean, like deep.
Yeah,
deep.
he tattooed one of my friends.
Cool.
Like in the '90s, the early '90s or something.
Yeah, Steve did this Giger one.
Yeah. He also did a Giger piece on my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And it was killer.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I couldn't do it.
And I was the
like
first
that.
Giger piece he ever did.
Really?
Yeah.
That's sick.
You know, I was the first Giger piece Bob Roberts ever did. That I mean, you know, that's what he made it out to be anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So you went into Inkers.
Went into Inkers, and well, Inkers was gone. And then there was the other shop that Larry Hanks worked at when I went there the first time with my friend as a customer, which was right around the corner, which was called The Finest, or Dago's Finest at that time. Yeah, and that was Larry Hanks, who's a fucking awesome guy too. I mean, you know, he's a fucking like tattooer, like biker, but like not in a club. Like, you know, he's a lone wolf motherfucker, you know? Like, I love Larry, and you know, I'm just deeply, you know, close to people like that because those are my people, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like I get that guy, like family style, you know what I mean? And I met him the once, and he fucking remembered me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how would he remember me? I didn't get tattooed, nothing, you know, none of that.
Crazy.
But we connected, you know what I mean? And he was, when I was there the first time, he was tattooing the cat face guy, the guy with the tiger face. He was tattooing his eyes, and like, you know, we were just hanging out watching it, and like, it was so crazy, you know. And this is like a year later, 2 years later, I was there, and he wasn't there, but this guy Kenzie was there, who just bought the shop, and he, I just asked him if he needed help, and I told him I apprenticed under Mel the Head, and I told him Mel the Head was dead.
You just made up a whole story.
I just made up the whole story, and he hired me. So since he hired me, you know, I was like, okay, now I have to do this, and I can't ask questions because I already supposed to know everything.
Oh, fuck.
So it was pretty interesting, you know. And the first tattoo I did in front of him was like on a homeless girl, and I saw it later, and it was gone. You know, it was actually gone. It didn't stay.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it didn't stay. Like maybe a couple pieces of parts of it stayed,
Sure.
but yeah, most of it was gone. So he must have known that. I mean, he was a professional. He had a bodysuit. He was like, you know, Kenzie was the shit too, you know. And Kenzie was like this awesome guy who was like this, you know, again, a lone, you know, he bought the shop from Larry. So he was like a lone wolf kind of guy, super tough, you know, Native American from, you know, the Midwest. You know, he was an iron worker before, he was a tattooer, and yeah, I don't know. I think the first week I was there, I got into like 3 fights with Kenzie. Not with him, but like with him, like with people. And then, you know, that just cemented me in, you know. Like I was like his right-hand dude. You know what I mean? He fired the other people that worked at the shop, and I was like his guy. So yeah, then that was off. I was off to being a professional tattooist. And that shop was the shop that Zeke Owens owned. It was a shop that Painless Nell owned before that. Ed Hardy worked his first shop there. I mean, it's like, you know, this shop had mad history, even though it was like little smaller than where we're sitting right now. The whole shop was like probably like the size of this square, you know. That's it. It was tiny. Waiting room and tattoo area. Yeah. It's like, you're tattooing, I'm tattooing. There's the waiting room. That's it. This is the shop. Not COVID friendly, you know. Yeah, and when I walked in that shop from LA, from like escaping all this really crazy fucking charges and crazy shit, he was hanging up Flash, you know. So it was like just perfect timing, you know.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So how long were you there before you went
I was
on
there.
to
I was
meet
there.
other people and
It was like people started coming to meet me, in fact, and like even there, like Fit Buchanan and his ex-wife Patty.
because of the work they'd seen?
I don't think so. They had come because they had just moved to San Diego. And,
Okay.
And they were just going shop to shop to like introduce themselves.
And it wasn't hard because there wasn't 15,000 shops.
There was still a lot of shops because it was like a military shop. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't 15,000. And there used to be like maybe 15 shops in that same 3-block area.
Because of
the military, and it was downtown. But
Right.
then one whole block that probably had 10 of those shops got torn down the week that I started tattooing. So like Inkers, that's why Inkers was gone. They were just packing up. Like when I came down there, they were like packing up with their stuff, walking out the door. They were gone. And they were like going to go work out of their homes until they figured out another place. Then they wound up opening up at the beach, but it was like a year later.
Oh, okay.
So we had like a whole year where they were like gone. There was no competition.
Oh, killer.
From like, from any type of like, unless you knew him, knew
Right,
Steve or Gary or, yeah. So it was good timing,
yeah, it's really
Good
good
timing. Yeah, it's good timing because a lot of the Marine guys already knew Steve and Gary, and they wanted like someone young that like seemed like they could like do something cool, like and I was right on that, Yeah, I was a good salesman for sure,